Hello and welcome to Fierce. This program celebrates the diversity of LGBTIQ identities and perspectives. Fierce is produced in Bundjalung country at 2NCR Lismore and can also be heard on podcast at fiercefm.podbean.com and in New Zealand on Fresh FM, as well as all over Australia through the Community Radio Network.
Fierce FM on Spotify and YouTube.
I want to honour the traditional owners of the lands where you are living. They took care of these lands for thousands and thousands of years and then shared this land with us at great cost to their own lives. I want to thank them for the care they have given and continue to give, to sit on the earth, listen and care for country. I also want to thank the fairies and crones who came before us in history to fight for our human right to love fiercely.
Zenith Virago, Citizen of the Year in Byron Shire community. Thrilling for me to see a feminist, radical, unruly, lesbian up there as the Citizen of the Year. I mean, with that conservative element of that brings. Probably quite surprised to be Australian of the Year. How are you feeling, Zenith?
I'd love to be Australian of the Year, but I'm only the Citizen of the Year in Byron Shire.
So what does that mean exactly?
You know, as you know, I have a long history of standing up for LGBTIQ, especially for the marriage equality when that needed voices for people to be heard so that other people would vote yes in the survey. Working with Death and Dying, but also the Vagina Conversations, which is a fundraiser for the Women's Escape Fund in Mullum. But surprising and wonderful and overwhelming, feeling very loved and acknowledged and supported in my big whole Byron Shire community. But the other thing is, what does this actually mean for me going forward? You know, as an elder, as someone who is very public and has a voice, what responsibility comes with that role? Not just in the coming year, but into the future. So that's what I'm sort of sitting with right now, which is sort of exciting.
A young mother coming to Australia, you became a part of this community up here, very well known for your alternative lifestyle. You used to be in black a lot, now you're in white a lot. You're engaging with a smaller community, now you're engaging with the whole community and offering such a service. A lot of what you do is volunteer, spiritual and honest.
I feel very fortunate that now I'm in my 60s and I've lived freely, particularly in this area, as what I would call a hippie, as a fairy, unconventional, whatever that might mean. It's incredible to live your own life, be outside the mainstream, as most of us are within that, you know, queer subculture, and then suddenly find yourself in your 60s after years of doing what you want to do and just being a maverick, being outspoken, being a troublemaker. Suddenly everyone catches up, especially in the death field, and then you get to be seen as a respected elder. So I really love that turn of events. We all have many people who died when they were young, one way or another. Those people didn't get to evolve through those stages of their life. From, you know, someone in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s. Maybe I'll make 70s, I don't know that yet. But I just really see it's an incredible privilege and good luck to be able to live through those stages.
The world's changed in the last couple of years so much, but being at the forefront of all of those equality fights when you were in your 30s to in your 60s, what has changed and what is still to do to help build equality now?
I basically think if the church is for it, then I'm usually against it. Whatever it is, battles that need to be fought for equality, for justice, for mercy, humanity, for equal rights, basic standard living wage, for housing for people, all of those things that people need in order to just be surviving and then have a quality life on top of that. I just feel the personal is the political. It's very important that people choose to vote. The consequences of apathy or not voting or using a chaos vote. So you've got Trump, we've had Brexit and the chaos that that's caused. And people who really don't take it seriously, I mean, There's a lot at stake, and I think it's really important to have some sort of political backbone and to take a stand in things and not to be daunted if that is not a popular opinion at the time, because all those things gradually, some a longer fight than others, come round. Some great sayings, be the change you want to see. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. They're not cliches, they are absolutes. And if we don't take a stand, support others in their discrimination and their lack of human rights, everyone loses. We all know the patriarchy is in charge, but as a society, we're only as valuable as the person at the bottom. So we really need to lift everybody up to a basic level in order to flourish.
Any insights on why the church is against all those things?
The church, politics, medicine, religion, they're bastions of the patriarchy. And I've heard the word patriarchy used more in the last few years than I've heard in the rest of my life. Usually it was a term that only feminists were using. But now it's become very popular because people are really seeing what's at stake. And the more that becomes exposed, the more corruption, the more old white guys are supporting each other and patting each other on the back and doing dodgy deals. And, women who support that sort of behavior, who are also in the system, it's getting very exposed and people have had enough. Women in particular want rights to abortion, they want equal pay, they want all those things that women have been fighting for forever. LGBTIQ, human rights, equal rights, lots of battles to be fought. And for some reason, the church is made up of people who, instead of practicing what is generous and kind, which is the basis, I think, of what Christian doctrine or a lot of the original people that started those religions, it's got really bent and really corrupt, often not what we would deem to be humane. Whatever progress is needed, they're generally against it. I think it's threatening. People find women and other sorts of people who don't fit that heteronormative threatening. And we are threatening because we're magical,
And do you think sex to make babies only is to stop creativity and also to help with the consumerism?
That's a deep question. But anyway, I think that sex is also about pleasure. It's about intimacy. It's about respect. It's about love. And it's also about procreation. And I don't know. I mean, there's so yucky, all of that control of people and especially of pleasure. And one of the things I think about is death. The culture that has a healthy approach and bereavement response, they can't control that culture so easily by threat. I mean, when you think that at some stage it was illegal to kill yourself, but the state could kill you because the death penalty is the highest penalty in the land. Things are just really fucked up. We all would hope a humane, caring, considered approach to living and dying and loving and sexuality and spirituality. We could be living in another world.
Yes. The Natural Death Care Centre is something that you've initiated, helping people make ritual and connect with death and do death well.
It's probably 25, 26 years ago, a friend of mine died suddenly, unexpectedly, and we went to the morgue, her husband, her daughter, and me. He went to identify her body, and, when I looked at her there, I had such a strong feeling that, we could do it ourselves. We didn't need to give her body into the care of a complete stranger. So we decided we would do it ourselves. I had a legal background. And so we collected the body, we took it home, we washed and dressed her, we built a coffin. We drove her in the coffin to her house, and then we drove to the ceremony. We did a ceremony that we created ourselves. And from there, it just had a life of its own, where other people asked me if I would assist them with ceremony and also with do-it-yourself approach. People were dying at home, but they didn't want their body to go anywhere after death. They wanted to be able to do after-death body care, and they wanted to keep it cold. They wanted to build their own coffins. They wanted to transport the coffin and the body to the place of disposal, whether that was a crematorium or they wanted to bury on private ground or in the cemetery. I've spent the last 25 years assisting people to do that. And now I very rarely meet people. I just give them information as clearly as possible on the phone, and they do it themselves, because we have now created a sort of cultural approach to and a contemporary way of doing death. It's a global wave. I was here, but at the same time, there were other people in other countries, mostly women, mostly old feminists, some of us old home birthers, moving to change the status quo of the funeral industry and the death industry from, men in black suits and religion having total control over it, so that people could know what their legal options were, take control, consider what they wanted, and then create what they wanted. And all of that really makes for a healthier bereavement. So then they go back into their lives, living with the loss of that person, however that person has died. They look back and they think, oh, it was so sad when they died, but wow, we just really did well with that ceremony and looking after them. Spontaneous joy can arise at that experience and the way they dealt with that. So over and over again, I see how incredibly capable and incredibly courageous people are around death and dying and loss, if they know what all their options are. And then they're assisted to make choices that work for them, but they're actually doing it themselves. So it's not like when someone dies, the funeral director comes, takes the body away. 3 days later, you're at a funeral. You're still in shock. You go through that motion and it's sort of unsatisfying. It's not as honoring as it could be of either the dead person or the people left behind. Especially for us as queer people, we want to be able to celebrate that aspect of people's lives. We don't want to be told, oh, we're not going to mention that. But most importantly, especially for queer people, people need to put their paperwork in order. They need to make an advanced healthcare plan, create a will, and they need to appoint an executor of that will who is someone that will follow their wishes, so that their family cannot come along and claim that body. The executor of the will has the right to the body. And so if you are in a partnership that you think may be disputed, or you are not in a relationship or a partnership and you want one of your friends to take care of everything so that all your other friends will get something appropriate, the best way to do that is to complete those two forms.
If you want more information, listeners, on that, just go to the Natural Death Care Centre website, which is
thenaturaldeathcarecentre.org. So we're a charity.
Yeah. Zenith, what song speaks to you about doing death well?
Sally Oldfield, Celebration. It so sums up everything of this area in that one song about celebrating that person's life.
Hey, it's a clear night. Can you feel the starlight and its magical action on your brain? Come on, you gotta let it begin. You gotta let your life win. You got nothing more to lose. Come on, you gotta die one day. You don't know where or when, there are no survivors. Hey, come on, won't you join in the
Hi, this is Zenith Virago, and I am a multifaceted, empowered woman, and you're listening to Fierce FM, and it's one of the best stations I know.
Zenith is raising issues on gender equality and violence against women. Her annual V-Day event, which happens all over the world, but Zenith has been doing it in Byron Shire for many years. They've raised lots of money for women's refuges, and they also do a production of Vagina Conversations, which is different to the Vagina Monologues because Zenith initiated having local people writing their own stories about their vaginas. And actually, vagina is a much more acceptable word to say now because of you, Zenith.
At the awards ceremony the other night, a very straight, respectable older woman said, "Oh, Zenith, congratulations." I just love it. That's probably the only time the word vagina is going to be said off the council platform. She said, "That's great." A lot of people are just supportive, even though they may not come. As part of the 1 Billion Rising movement, which was started by Eve Ensler, who is now known as V, she started that movement 9 years ago, and I kept thinking someone would put something on, but when that didn't occur, I thought, oh, well, it'll have to be me then. I'll just do that. So we organised to do a flash mob on the beach at crack of dawn, 6:30 on Valentine's Day. So I invited everyone to wear red and come, and I really didn't know what would happen. But I have a bottom line of 1. So if one person comes or I make a difference for one person a day, it's a good day for me. It's as simple as that. So I only needed one other person to come and it would have been a good day. But, probably about 70 people came. We did the dance and then we did a naked swim, which was sort of spontaneous, but I did know that by doing it at the beach, that would occur, but I just couldn't put that in the DA to the council or the police. And that has now become a cultural tradition, and now we don't have to apply for permission. No one gets arrested for public nudity for being on the beach. This will be the 6th year that we've done the Vagina Conversations. The monologues are fantastic, but they're dated. Decided we had enough great people in our area and to invite a different group each year to tell their own stories, some sort of vagina-related piece. And it's been very powerful and very educative for the audience. Also, the process for the women and the people doing that has been astonishing, an incredibly courageous journey for many of the people. It's a fundraiser. Everybody donates all their time and energy. And Mandy Nolan finishes every night with her piece, which is always incredible.
For listeners who are from all over the place, V-Day happens everywhere, and you can go to a website.
1 Billion Rising is the organisation's name, and then it will direct you to events near you.
It's a fun day, listeners.
It's a political action. We make it fun here. Everybody puts on a different event, so not all of them are flash mobs. Some of them are forums, letter writing. And if you feel that something's missing, put it on yourself, do something.
Another local person, Terry O'Brien, was offered an Australia Day award, turned it down because of an award given to Margaret Court, who is very transphobic. Nobody seems to know why Margaret Court got this award, which is bigger than the Order of Australia. Political, religious, obviously the patriarchy is involved.
It's quite a shocking decision, and that decision would not have been made lightly. Someone in that group would have said, oh, this is going to be controversial because of what she said, especially around marriage equality and homosexuality. And they went ahead anyway. So that's really like, well, fuck you. Kerry O'Brien, very well-respected journalist and broadcaster, has always trod a very professional line in his work and is very respected, and he's got decades of work with the ABC behind him. He's a very deserving recipient, but he's also saying there has to be something fundamentally wrong with that system if it can give her, Margaret Court, an award. And I think that's very true, that it's out of touch. And there was some other research recently that shows that 75% of the people who get awarded those medals live in liberal and national electorates. They're coming from a certain type of person. And that is very sad to see, because there's so many people all over the country doing volunteer work, doing professional work, community work, welfare work, scientific work, environmental work, health work, teachers who are just really deserving of an acknowledgement of what they do. And to put her up as one of the highest accolades the country has to offer is just appalling, but it's actually disgusting. It's a slap in the face for anybody who's working towards equality and respect for any marginalized people.
There are petitions?
So that's right. Sign the petition. Let's bring our voices to that. There is a chance, I suppose, they would withdraw it.
She must have come from some sort of family that's up there, because, you know, to have a tennis court named after her as well. What?
No, I mean, she was a very successful and accomplished tennis player in her time. I mean, you can't take that away from her, but it was recognized for that, I think, in early 2000s and received an award. But she's not furthered the cause of tennis since then, and she has been a pastor of some sort, and it's that work that I think that they're trying to acknowledge. I don't know. Absolutely appalled by that decision.
Certainly Yvonne Goolagong's done a lot more for Australia than Margaret Court in tennis.
Yeah, an Indigenous person who played tennis against a brick wall, and the whole, you know, racist culture that was in place when she was up and coming. For her to succeed and be on the world stage is an incredible thing, and a much better thing to acknowledge, actually. Especially for young Indigenous girls, you know, to have a role model like that, to be held up so highly, be a great thing.
But she's not, sadly, living in a liberal national environment, so she's not worthy of that. Congratulations. Thank you for all you do. You are super fierce. I just want to be fierce like you.
I'm going to start a masterclass in being fierce.
Yay! I need it. Bye.
Bye, Peter. Tim Buckley, Sweet Surrender, because that was a tune that was in my awareness when I was young.
Now you want to know the reason why I cheated on you. Well, I had to be a hunter again. This little man had to try to make love feel new again. 'Cause there's just a few things, honey, what I could not prove to you.
Thank you for listening to Fierce. This program celebrates the diversity of LGBTIQ identities and perspectives. Fierce is produced in Bundjalung Country at 2NCR Lismore and can also be heard on podcast at fiercefm.podbean.com and in New Zealand on Fresh FM, as well as all over Australia through the Community Radio Network.
Fierce FM on Spotify.